All right. Waiting for an update. I didn't see a notification. Activity maybe? Oh,
Well, there you go.
there it is, huh? All right, guys. Well, it's been a while. It's been a while, to say the least.
Welcome back to another episode.
So we've had somewhat of a hiatus, for lack of a better term. This is Infinite Playroom. I am your host, Stu Pedasso. You probably forgot about us. It's been about 4 months since we've. Fair enough. Fair enough. In any case, joining me, we have the whole crew. Let's go ahead and start with Ironclad Meat Rag.
Hey, what's going on?
Vi Guy.
Hey, what is it, bitches?
And Harry Sackle. Thanks for joining us. We are. Maybe we could turn the volume down on that just a bit, Vi Guy.
Yep, it's muted.
So this is obviously we wanted to try and get one in for the end of 2017. Probably one of the most memorable years in gaming in the past decade, probably.
Easily.
At least. So we're going to be running down some of the bigger stories that we thought were mentionable by far. We're just going to take it a month at a time and kind of go in. Before we do that, though, since it has been such a long time, let's kind of get an update with everybody and where we've been since our last podcast. Harry Sackler, let's start with you. What have you been doing in the last 4 months in the world of gaming?
Yeah.
Hey. So worth it. Nice. Well, I know I was talking with you about it, and you were telling me that there's, especially if you're familiar and you've played several of these others, that even the geography of Hyrule in this one is very accurate and spot on. Yeah, that's something that I didn't realize.
The way it feels to me is this. Miyamoto has said before that when he designed the original Legend of Zelda for NES, what he was going for was the adventures he had in his mind when he was playing around in nature as a kid, in Japan, out in the wild. And the thing about the NES was that it was so limited that when you go back and play that game, or if you remember playing it as a kid, you had to kind of use your imagination to make up for the graphics. You know what I mean?
Or just the storytelling, in fact. Like, just to get around that game, you really had to put your brain together and think about what your next step might be. Like, just a throwaway line in the dialogue could be key to the story.
Right, but to me, this is that game fully fleshed out with tons of new layers to it. It's the dream of going out in nature and having crazy adventures, and I don't think it could have been done any better.
Man, I need a Switch.
I'm telling you, man. Do it.
Yeah, it's such a step forward from what I was anticipating, perhaps when we heard about this release. Because, anytime Nintendo puts out a new system, you always hear, like, oh, new Mario, new Zelda. Like, that's kind of one of the, two that are expected to help push it. And I will say that Zelda has probably helped the launch of the Switch be as successful as it was because of the level that this game took everything to. I mean,
what was the price point when the Switch first came out? 350, 450.
It's always been 3, but it was so hard to find at first that you were usually suckered into buying a bundle, like me paying $430 for a fucking Switch.
Exactly. Well, that's because it was, like you said yourself, it was helping the sales. I mean, that thing when it first came out was a device for playing Breath of the Wild, and that's about it. Yep. That's its main focus.
But since then, they've just been shoveling on the games every single week.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's never been, even with the 3DS, there's never been a Nintendo console that had such support from third-party indie titles like the Switch has. I mean, this is crazy. Every week, they're putting out, top-tier indie titles like Stardew Valley. I was surprised how quickly it came to Switch. Some of the others that I'm really enjoying, that I have enjoyed in the past and will be getting on the Switch is The Binding of Isaac. I don't know if you guys have ever played that one. It's a roguelike, old-school Zelda, top-down kind of RPG. But that one's worth playing. I mean, there's so many. So, I'm just... And the fact that it's selling as well as is just encourages more indies to be like, hey, let's get it on the Switch, so get it in people's hands. That's awesome.
And it's also selling in comparison of pretty poor sales that the Wii U went through.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, like we said, this is definitely something, and I'm sorry, Chris, we kind of ran off your Switch announcement.
It's all good because that's really all I've been doing. I can't fucking get away from it.
But congratulations. So how far into Breath of the Wild are you? Have you beat it yet? Or
I have all 4 of the Divine Beasts, but after taking some counsel from Levi and other people, I'm not going to go in with Ganon yet. I'm going to dick around, and I'm kind of do as much as I can and enjoy it for as long as I can before I finally go in that final battle.
Yeah, just keep in mind that besides DLC, Ganon is the end.
Right, and that's
so you don't. If you don't want it to be over, then don't beat Ganon yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely don't want it to be over, man. I want to explore every little fucking inch of that thing.
Nice.
I thought I was gonna be able to on the Wii U. I thought I was gonna be one of those guys that finds all 500 shrines or whatever the number is.
46 or 2, something like that.
But after a while, I was like, well, this isn't my Wii U. I've been playing this game well over 100 hours. Maybe I should just wrap it up. And when I did, I never went back.
Yeah. So do you think when you get it on the Switch, or do you have it on the Switch now?
I don't, but I'm going to. I think I'm going to buy the new edition that has the DLC included.
DLC on it.
So I can just start it on the Switch instead of the Wii U and do it on master difficulty this time.
You going to try 100% all those shrines this time?
I mean, I'm going to try. It's one of those games like Mario 64 that you would just never want to sell, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're never really done with that game.
Cool. Well, Vigai, how about you? What have you been doing in the last 4 months? I mean, it's been a little bit. You've been, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
Well, I know your life has changed. It's quite a bit busier, but mine has not changed for shit. I've just been trying to play all the great games of 2017 during 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've played at least the top 5. So Nier Automata, Persona 5, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and now Horizon. So
nice.
That's what I've been up to.
Good. Ironclad Meat Rack?
Not really much has changed in the gaming sphere. I just been, playing the same old games. I still play Battlefield 1 pretty regularly. That game still holds a lot to me. And just in the continuing DLC, I bought the what's it called, season pass for that. So I got all the DLC every time it comes out, and they introduce new weapons and maps and modes and stuff like that.
Too, man.
It's still. They make small changes like any other multiplayer game does, but it's still just as fun as it ever has when it first came out. So I still play that, and then which a discussion I'm sure we're going to get to later in the podcast, but I was watching the Video Game Awards, and they announced that there was a sale going on the Xbox, or on all consoles, in fact, just in celebration for the Game Awards. And I saw that Destiny 2 was on there for sale, so I bought that. This is not long after the game, maybe a couple months after the game had come out, Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm. So it came out in September.
Yeah, and for it to be already on a discount a month later at half off, I was like, all right, well, I guess it's at least worth a try. Yeah. And I have not been able to put it down, man. Nice. It's a really, really good game. I mean, from the fall that we had of Destiny 1 when you first picked it up, and
yeah,
you know, it was very small in content. You couldn't do much. Like it's kind of the same with that. Like there is a lot of the same missions you might be doing, but there's also, I don't know, more ways to achieve loot, I guess you could say, or more ways to even, you know, embrace the story. It's very more extensive than the first one when it first came out, that's for sure. And they definitely learned from some of their mistakes, but they have had some backlash, of course, like any other game does, it seems like, this year. But other than that, that's about it. Just same old for me, really.
So you think Destiny 2 is definitely improvement on Destiny 1?
Yes, I'd say so. Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, they had some trouble when it first came out with apparently there was some I don't even know what you would really call it, but they were altering the ways that you would earn XP to where it would take longer somehow, but I didn't really read the exact definition of how it worked out, but basically it was altered in a way that was very unfair to players to make them play longer, you know, obviously because they just want gamers to play their game longer, I suppose. Sure. But they went out and came forward and admitted to it and tried to fix it the best they could. But it's still a very, very enjoyable game in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Good to hear. The last 4 months for me have not held a lot of gaming. I've gone back to school. And although they are online classes, man, I just don't have enough time in a day to do everything I need to get done. So unfortunately, gaming has been somewhat of a backseat. When I do get a little time, I will say in the last 4 months, I have picked up the new South Park Fractured But Whole. A lot of fun on that one. That one's good stuff. I also picked up Battle Chasers Night War, I think it's called. It's kind of like a...
What?
Yeah, I've messed with that a little bit.
Battle Chasers Night War, I believe it's called.
What's this? It's a mobile game?
No, this is actually on the Xbox. I think it is coming to Switch, from what I read as well. But it's kind of like an old school Final Fantasy turn-based RPG.
Ooh.
Nice art style. Very cool looking. And the character design is smooth and awesome, and I don't know, it's just a really good game. I don't know, Harry, you mentioned you kind of mess with it a little bit.
Just a little bit, man. I mean, just a very, very tiny bit, but I do like the art style of it a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah.
As far as like mechanics and stuff like that, I haven't played enough really to say for sure. So.
Okay. The mechanics on it are cool. Like I said, if you enjoyed your old school Final Fantasy turn-based opportunities, it's worth looking into. You have your mana, you have your health, and then you have your actions, which actually generate what do they call it, overcharge or something like that, and then you have your abilities, which use your mana and your overcharge. So it's a unique step forward. I don't know. It's worth a look into. I think so. But those have been the top two that I've really been playing when I did have some free time over the last few months. What else? Oh, I did get my hands on M+2. Finally came to Xbox. I know Vigai has had access to this on the PlayStation for like the last 3 years.
So, yeah, I've still got it, and I keep forgetting I have it.
It's a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. That has been by far one of my favorite platformers. So M++, just like a stickman platformer. I don't know what more you could ask for, really. It's worth it.
We need to play that together more often too.
Dude, I'm down. Say it. Name it. I don't go back to school till January 15th, so time is ticking. But yeah, there's definitely enough time to get some additional gaming in. So, all right, guys. Oh, I guess kind of should have led with this, but I as well also picked up a Switch for the holiday season.
I hate all of you.
Yay! Everybody gets a Switch.
A Switch for you.
And you get a
One
Switch.
of us.
And Alex fucked
And
me,
Alex
man.
sits in the corner.
Yeah.
Alex will get a Switch someday, I'm sure. No,
Hashtag fund Alex for Switch.
yeah, there we go. We'll start an Indiegogo.
Yeah, hold on. That'd be awesome.
But that being said, I have really been enjoying some of the titles I've gotten in on. Primarily Golf Story. I know. I don't know if you guys have heard about this much, but
I've heard a lot about it, but I really haven't. I haven't seen much on it. It had a very good release, I heard, but I just haven't seen any gameplay. Actually, I didn't know really what it entails.
For a price point and for primarily solo playing on the Switch, this is probably. I'm not disappointed. I'm maybe 50% of the way through the game right now, but it's an RPG golf title, not limited to just golf. You have to run races, and there's disc golf involved, and they do all sorts. It's just a very cute, charming little RPG. Definitely worth it. It's perfect for the Switch. Definitely worth it.
That's all multiplayer too, isn't it?
I don't believe so. I have not seen any multiplayer.
Unless it's local, it might be. Is it local multiplayer possibly?
I don't. It might be. It might be. I've only soloed it, so I don't know, I'm not sure. However, for a multiplayer game that I have been getting into and having a lot of fun, Overcooked. They have like a definitive edition. This is a game that's been out on console and PC for a minute now.
Yeah, and it had
2 years or so.
I'm pretty sure it had a. I don't know. I think it did. It might have had a what's it called? Not game preview. What's the word I'm looking for? Early access.
Early access on the console or PC?
PC. I want to say. I might be inaccurate, but
I've heard that game is basically impossible to play on your own, but if you have friends, it's a lot of fun.
Communication is key. I hear.
It is. I think Harry, you mentioned to us a while back some type of bridge space game that you played on your phone with a group of people.
Oh my god, yeah, what the fuck was the name of it? We tried to play it, me and a bunch of friends, but...
What was the description again?
Okay, so basically it's like a... You're like a
bridge crew.
Yeah, you're a bridge crew on a spaceship.
Oh, Star Trek? Star Trek Bridge Commander? Oh.
It's different. But this was all on your mobile phone.
You play it on your smartphone with all your friends, like while you're sitting around a table.
Ooh.
God damn it, man.
And each person is at a console, but you can't see the commands that the other person has. You just have to call them out, but everybody's calling out at the same time. And so Overcooked is a little similar in the regard that everybody's manning a station, so to speak. And so you got one person on dishes, one person prepping food, one running the cook, and one person getting orders out.
On the bridge game too, it's like your spaceship is like being shot at, or it's crashing, it's falling apart, so everybody's like frantically trying to keep this fucking thing together.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up, Stu. I forgot all about that. I'm surprised you remember that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, if you own a Switch and you have people to play with, I can't recommend a better title than Overcooked. I mean, it's pretty decent. So,
dang it.
Yeah, check it out for sure. It's a lot of fun. All right, guys. Now that we're kind of all caught up with where we've been in the last few months, let's also go on to say that Harry is live streaming this to YouTube. So by the time you're hearing this, once it's actually posted, you can head over to Facebook where it's will be archived to our Facebook page as well. But go to YouTube. I believe it's Harry Sackdahl IPR.
Yep. That's it.
And just go to YouTube, do a search for that, and you will find us here. Obviously, if you're listening to this at a later point, it'll be archived. But I think I've said the same thing 3 times now. So let's move on to. Let's see. January this year started out a little slow, in my opinion. The first disappointment.
Well, January is usually it's right after December ends, and
Yeah.
December is the big one for the
Sure,
year
sure.
previous.
Well, when I say started out slow, I mean there was so much that came out this year that gave us stuff to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was a little disappointing because we had the Xbox One X teased as the Scorpio. We didn't really know, what it was, but starting out in January, Scalebound, which was a 4-player dragon co-op experience opportunity, was canceled.
Yes.
That was a little disappointing because it was one of the few exclusive Xbox titles that I was actually looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And there weren't a lot. There were not a lot of Xbox exclusive titles, first and foremost. And to actually have one that you were looking forward to canceled was disappointing, but it is what it is. However, we got, I would say, a return to form for a franchise that I have long loved, which was Resident Evil 7 released in January.
Great game.
Yeah. It's like having an old friend back to themselves, after the disappointment of Resident Evil 6, I'll say.
Did you guys play 7?
Understatement. Yes, play and beat.
I only got the demo, unfortunately. But I know I had talked to Ironclad, and he had said he had beat it, like I said, and Dr. Foz had also played and beat it. Has anybody talked to anybody who got a chance to play it in the PSVR experience?
I wish.
But I've watched people play it
in
VR.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about that, and I think Sony did a really smart thing by you buy this one game, but it contained both experiences. You
don't have to buy the original, and then now I want to play it VR. I gotta go buy another version of this thing.
Right. Yeah, and I thought that was ingenious to
Yeah.
help promote PlayStation VR. So
Agreed. That's definitely the right way to sell hardware.
yeah, hopefully we'll see more titles like that as we see more and more games come out for VR. But I know January is quite a ways back. You guys have anything that stuck out in your mind about January of this year?
Mainly that was it for me. It was the release of that.
Resident Evil. Yep,
Mhm.
for sure.
It was huge. It was, like you said, it was such a return to roots, and it was actually scary, very, very scary all over again. Very scary. That game, you didn't even have to be, just the atmosphere of that game was terrifying. You'd hear creaks in the floors and you'd be freaking out. Great game.
So yeah, imagine that in VR. I've heard it's
know.
over the top, flicking your headset across the room, terrifying.
Oh man, I bet.
I would love to play that.
now. Damn it! I miss
All right,
games
guys.
like that.
Oh.
Fucking the real scary ones. They don't do a lot of them anymore.
No, not at all. February, we got the announcement of the Game Pass coming from Microsoft for the Xbox. This is basically a streaming digital service, another subscription service. So, you pay for Xbox Gold to get online service. Now they kind of are promoting this Xbox Game Pass for, I don't know, what's the monthly cost of it? It's like $14.
I think it's $9.99.
Or is it $9.99, something like that?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And these are a lot of, lack of a better term, classic. I don't know. Has anybody taken advantage of don't they offer a trial?
Yes, I tried the trial.
15-day. What'd you think?
It boasts, what you see is kind of I'm sure everybody's seen the ad when they boot up their Xbox, and it has, play this game, and this game for free. So it'll give you a handful of the games that it's talking about. It implies, you can play Gears 4, you can play, let alone Metal Gear Solid 5 being on there is pretty much the only reason why I would recommend anybody get it, just if that was their access to that video game. It's such a good game. But it kind of boasts those 4 to 10 games, those handful of games, and then everything's kind of just shrouded in.
But isn't there 100+ games on there?
Yeah, but that's like I'm saying, it's 80 alright games and 20 really AAA titles.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah. Well, needless to say, besides a lack of time and perhaps interest, I just feel like I got the games I want to play.
Yeah, for us, it's not really our field, but like, I mean, if I had access to this when I was, in high school, when I really didn't have $6 to spend every other title when it came out. True. If I had access to a $15 service a month to play over 100 games, I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, you make a valid point there for sure, for sure. Well, like I said, that announcement came out in February. Also, we got a lot of hints at E3. We got the announcement in February that E3 was going to be open to the public for the first time ever, from what I heard, and ticket prices and how many were available and all that. I thought that
was that really cool. The first time ever? I didn't know that. I thought they had it in the past to open to public.
Not to my knowledge. It was all industry access only.
Yeah.
And then some of the games that were big in February, I don't know if you guys recall, but one that I don't know if you heard Guy playing earlier on the show, but Horizon Zero Dawn came out in February. Another highly touted PlayStation exclusive was Nioh, which was basically a
Samurai Dark Souls.
Yeah, exactly. That was took the words right out of my mouth.
It's supposed to be highly technical, the kind of game that you could spend a year wrapping your brain around.
Yeah, very well reviewed. Definitely one of the must plays of 2017 for PlayStation for sure. Speaking of highly technical combat, For Honor was also released in February. I feel like Ubisoft really had a strong outcoming to begin in 2017.
Not just the beginning. They came out with Mario plus Rabbids a few months after that, and another great game.
Yeah, that was Ubisoft as well. That's true. I want to say around this time when For Honor came out, I was still dabbling in The Division, which was an Ubisoft title. For Honor was Ubisoft, and I really enjoyed For Honor. I never did finish that campaign. Harry, did you? I think you said you finished the campaign, didn't you? Yeah, and that was a really fun co-op experience as well. Playing through the campaign with somebody else, man, that was pretty cool. And the battling system was intense as well. What did you think about the learning curve, Harry? Did you feel like the learning curve was realistic on
it? Yeah, I mean, you do have to be. I mean, you can't just jump in and start.
It's not a button mashing fighter for sure.
It's really not. You can't just jump in and start kicking ass. You really got to put in the time to like figure out your character and your move sets.
Yeah, there's a strategy to it for sure. But yeah, it was a good one. I really enjoyed that. Let's see. Anybody have what does anybody else got for February? Anything?
Nothing I can really remember.
February always makes me think about when Persona 5 was supposed to come out.
Yeah, sure. So March was probably the most memorable month, Switch hit in March of this year. It's hard to imagine that was just March of this year. Very, very successful, as we stated earlier in this podcast. Zelda Breath of the Wild also came out in March with the launch of the Switch, and gangbusters, man. Fucking Nintendo. I mean, this is taking them back to their glory days of the Wii almost, you know? I mean,
it's cool how every 2 generations with Nintendo you get a swift reminder that you can get on top without having crazy graphics.
Yeah.
You can make an affordable system and you can drive hype with scarcity and just make people crazy.
Well, it is strange too, because when the Switch, it wasn't even the Switch at that point. What was the title for that when it first was announced?
Oh,
man, that's a good question.
Oh, the Switch code name?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that? That'd be a good
I can't remember.
I don't want to. Nobody Google it. We should know this. This is
Dolphin.
No, it's
GameCube. That was GameCube. Yeah.
Man, I want to know.
As soon as I hear it, I know I'm gonna be like, "Oh, that's right."
And it started with an N.
NX. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But
NX.
when we first, well, and it was NX for a very long time, but we really didn't have much information on it. We just knew that was the code name for it. But when it first was announced that what was going to be in it, it was touting to be more powerful than the PS4 and the Xbox One.
Yeah, I remember all the crazy rumors about that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's gonna be like better than the PS4.
Yeah, and now it's strange. It's not like they went back, and that all, of course, could have been just rumors. But it's kind of cool that they, even though they touted and then kind of went backwards and just did a normal, not over the top powerful rig, and we're still able to succeed.
Yeah.
It's
Sometimes
pretty
I wonder if
impressive.
Sony and Microsoft get together every couple generations and bribe Nintendo to stay weird, just so that they can compete alongside and not directly with. You know what I mean?
And then they're like, yeah, but we're not going to tell you any of our ideas, and then they release, and then Xbox or Sony and Microsoft try to copy said ideas.
Remember when the rumors were flying about the portable PS4, the
Yes,
Sony Switch?
I forgot all about
people
that.
were calling it?
Oh my gosh.
Nah, I think
Yeah.
Sony's probably done with portables forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that this is one time if you go back and listen to some of the podcasts from earlier this year, whether you're catching up or just kind of nostalgic for our voices, I was a big I was doubting the potential of having a console basically competing with itself. I felt like Nintendo already held the reins for the best mobile console, the 3DS. Why are they putting out this console that is going to be portable and quote unquote mobile, but also be a home console option? I thought, man, that was weird. But I got to say, the first time I played Breath of the Wild out away from my house,
blown away.
Man, holding
I
that.
remember somebody just had it in their backpack, and they're just like, "Oh, hey, you want to see this?" And like a 5-year-old schoolgirl, my eyes just lit up. I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!"
And have you guys found yourself doing Nintendo Switch commercial shit in your real life yet? Because I have.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
what do you mean?
Like, I
Making
got
my
this
way down.
new
Playing
friend
it everywhere, regardless
like,
of your friends being
I got
around
this-
or not.
new friend at work, and like we have a 15-minute break that we share, and so we
Okay.
go outside and we sit in his car and vape and talk. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I left my Switch in my car. You want to try out some Puyo Puyo Tetris?" And he was like, "Fuck yeah!" So within I would say 2 minutes time, I had everything out and had the little wrist strap connectors on the Joy-Cons because you only get one Joy-Con each in this situation. Anyway, we just detached those from the Switch, took the Switch tablet itself, pulled out the kickstand, put it on the dash of his car where there happened to be a perfect little flat area just the size of a Switch,
Nice.
and just sat there and fucking vaped like cool guys and played Puyo. It was awesome.
That's great.
That is great.
We could barely see what we were doing, but it's fun.
Yeah. I gotta say, I've not had that.
Yeah, I did. I do
experience.
remember seeing that in the Nintendo Switch commercial. That's awesome.
Well, I remember on the Switch commercials where they're like, "Oh yeah, we're on our way to go race go-karts, but let's play some Mario Kart on our way in the back of the van."
Oh, I've been looking for good rooftops to play some fucking Mario Kart. I want to finally buy it.
Nice. Well, not to be, pretty much everything undershadows the Switch launch and Breath of the Wild for March.
I know. Every month we just go back to the Switch so far.
It's legitimately well-earned kudos for sure. But you got to have some other great mentionables here. We're going to start off with Nier Automata, which I know a lot of people argued was probably the next closest contender to Zelda for Game of the Year from a lot of outlets that I read.
Totally.
I think, by guy, out of us, you were the only one that really got this experience. But it's a completely different experience from Zelda, right?
Oh yeah, totally different. It's kind of like Horizon Zero Dawn. Their open world seems to be the thing right now. But every open world game is different, and those 3 games are all great examples of what an open world game can be, but totally different from one another at the same time. as you guys probably recall from the last couple of years, I loved the first Nier, even though I don't know anyone else who played it, and I never hear people talking about it. So for its sequel to be making such huge headlines is awesome to me, because it just means maybe some of those people will go back and play the first one too and experience the beautiful vistas and awesome soundtrack that, man, sometimes when I'm at work, I'll still go back and listen to that original soundtrack. But if that gets old, now I can listen to Nier Automata soundtrack instead.
Right? Yeah. Right on. Well, whenever I get my hands on a PlayStation 4, that's definitely on the must-play list to pick up Nier Automata. So,
if you never thought androids and robots could make you cry, play this game.
Right on. March also saw the release of Ghost Recon Wildlands, yet another Ubisoft title. This title is actually everything I wanted The Division to be, and I didn't even realize it until I got into playing this. This is an open world South American drug cartel takedown experience. Had so much fun with this one. I know me and Harry spent hours, I think.
I now want to play it again, though. I want to try this new thing.
Right, with the update of the Predator being launched into the game, there's when you take him down, there's the potential to get the Predator mask, the wrist blades, and a few other things I think you can also acquire. But yeah, pretty sweet. Great multiplayer experience. Ubisoft doing a good job. I'll say that. So for 2017, for sure. On the more disappointing side of things, we also saw the release of one of my favorite franchises. Unfortunately, just didn't really nail the nail on the head. I don't know.
I don't know if it nailed anything, you guys.
Yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda was such a disappointment and letdown. It really felt like the people that put time and effort into this maybe weren't familiar with Mass Effect at all. I don't know.
Maybe just rushed in some way.
To add to the irony of it, do you guys remember all the E3 trailers we saw just of people in a studio working on this amazing game that was so far away, and then it came out?
It just didn't even feel like the old school Mass Effects that we played back in the day. You know, it just, I don't know. I think
a feeling there's going to be a really interesting documentary about how that game was made someday. Yeah. All the back office kerfuffles and corporate, God, who knows, you guys.
I think Ironclad's right, though. I mean, in retrospect, it did just feel rushed. It lacked a certain polish that all the other games had.
But doesn't it make you wonder why it was rushed? I want some answers. I want to find out how
two letters. I'll give you a
if you haven't learned your lesson yet, don't play EA games.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, EA. This should have been a good foretelling of things to come for the rest of the year for EA, because it only got worse from here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. In April, kind of still on the more saddening side of news, the NES Mini Classic was discontinued, even though there was still a high demand for it. Nintendo said, "We're done with this, just so you know. Jack up your prices and put them on eBay."
Am I crazy, but right before that they announced that it was discontinued, they did make quite a few more, didn't they?
Yes, I think so.
I feel like they had one last... Yeah, I feel like they had one last push of mass production and then discontinued it. And that's all, of course, because later in the year we saw the SNES Classic. So.
Correct. Yeah, just a few months later, they announced that the Super NES Mini Classic would be hitting shelves, and we saw that. But, yeah, as of April, they said no more of that. At the same time, they said, we're not making this, but what we are going to make is a 2DS XL for all of you mobile gamers who we know the Switch is coming,
which is genius. That new 2DS XL.
I mean, it is comparable. I'm with Levi in that I really do appreciate the 3D on it. Maybe not as much as Spy Guy does, but so I mean, I could see this, especially at a price point for some of the younger gamers who perhaps don't have their own income, this being an opportunity to get into some mobile gaming that they didn't have access to before. But I was a little saddened to see them kind of giving up on the 3D. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's just other than like maybe a handful of people that, well, I mean, everybody I usually talk to would bring up the point how they would almost immediately turn off their 3DS, or 3D capability.
And I've never been so frustrated in a conversation about games as this subject. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, does everybody just have lumpy asymmetrical heads? Do they just have one eye up there and one eye down here?
I just don't think. I mean, you have to be
like. How is the 3D not working for you? It works perfectly for me.
How I don't know. For me, I do play with 3D a majority of the time, but if I'm like laying in bed, it doesn't work. I have to be sitting upright for me for it to work.
Oh yeah, I see.
Like if I'm, it's just depending on the position someone's playing in. Like if you're slouched on a couch laying down, I could see why people would turn it off. It just doesn't. Isn't comfortable.
And it was a drain on the battery. I know that a lot of times when I had the opportunity to have perhaps a little downtime at work, I would break it out, but making sure that I had it turned off because I didn't want to drain the battery as much. But I will say that with some of the later releases that we've seen, the last Pokemon I played on 3DS, I thought the
last two Pokemons, if you count the new one.
Oh, Ultra. Yep, true.
Yeah, just no 3D.
Yeah, no support there. But the ones that did have it, I thought really knocked it. The new Metroid, Return of Samus.
Oh man,
3D looks great on that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Real quick, shout out to Daddy125 on the chat. Thanks for chatting.
Hey, what's he got to say?
He's talking Fortnite from 2017 is his favorite. And best 3DS game ever was the Super Mario Brothers in 2008.
Yeah. Okay. Good mentions. Good mentions. Yeah. I have Fortnite here on the list to get to for sure. Thank you very much. Feel free to chime in on the chat, get a shout out, and we will definitely digest some of the comments and share those with the other listeners. So, thank you. Games that came out in April, Vaga, I know this one's right up your alley, but Persona 5 was a long-awaited experience that probably chewed up any other game more time than any other game this year for you.
Yeah.
Would that be a justified statement?
Yeah, it definitely did the Persona name justice in that this game was possibly too long.
Oh.
But they're all too long.
Yeah.
According to most people's standards. If you really love this shit though, you can't get enough of it like me, man. I could have taken some DLC on top of it, to be honest.
Dang. How many hours logged in, you think?
175 to be.
Wow. Holy crap. That's a lot of hours.
How do you
But I went on so many dates, you guys.
Did you, or did you do the exact opposite?
I definitely did my share of romancing. It was
awesome.
It was hard to choose my one true love, but in the end, it worked out being the one I wanted the most. So,
there you go.
And again, that's just a tiny piece. People forget we're talking about a Shin Megami Tensei game that has a very deep, complex magic and battle system.
Yeah.
So it's not all high school clubs and dates.
well then it's not a buy for me then.
If you've got an inner weeaboo at any level,
I'm sorry, what? What'd you call me?
Bunch of weebs. I'm probably the only weeb on this podcast. I need my own podcast called Weebcast.
There you go. We could probably work something out. May, we also got this is another title. Right. Let's see. We had gotten some news about the sequel, or prequel, I guess I should say, to Red Dead Redemption. And in May, we got word that it was unfortunately delayed. It was supposed to be coming out the end of this year, but it got pushed back to, was it second quarter 2018, something like that?
I don't think anybody's super mad about it, though. Everybody knows that Rockstar takes their time for a reason.
Yeah, I think we were all... And then, a few months ago. Was it about a month ago? We got a little more footage we got to see from Red Dead Redemption 2, and I think we're all pleasantly pleased with what we're seeing. And I don't know of anybody who can't wait to get their hands on that experience. So.
All the previews so far have been cool, just so you can kind of see, what the trees and the countryside will look like. But they've also been very vague about everything.
I don't know. That last one, didn't we see some decent, what could have been gameplay? I want to say.
I mean, just in terms of knowing the story, in terms of knowing the characters, I would prefer to stay in the dark on something like this.
Yeah,
it's nice to be surprised by a good game.
Yeah. May also saw the release of Injustice 2, which that guy. How are you coming in Injustice 2 these days?
Well, just days after it was named Fighting Game of the Year at the Video Game Awards, my guild, which has been number 2 in North America for the last few months, finally hit number 1. We finally usurped the kings and stole the crown. So now
congratulations.
I'm slaving away.
What's the go ahead and give him a shout out. What's the name?
Moosehead, named after the beer.
Nice. Cool.
Very admirable. So is it just an accumulation of stats that got it, or was there like a tournament face off where you actually
you don't face off against other guilds. Okay. There is no PvP involved in this guild thing.
Okay,
it's all about the guild multiverse, which basically, to put it in layman's terms, this fighting game is pretty much very MMO influenced. So if you've ever been part of a group in an MMO where you had to do your dailies, that's what this is. And I never thought I'd see a fighting game that would take on elements like that, but it has successfully enslaved me for at least 2 hours a night for the last, I guess, 7 months.
Nice. Well, fair enough. Well, congratulations. That's quite an achievement. I don't think I've got anything to compare to that. So kudos to you and Moosehead.
Remember, there's 50 people in a guild, so there are 50 number ones, and I'm just one. And this is only North America, and it's only North America on PS4. So
fair enough.
Just trying to be humble. I am proud, but I'm trying to be humble. Humble brag.
Humble brag. Hey,
on the old podcast, yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. June, we got the announcement for the Xbox One X price and date release. Of course, June was E3. And,
was this even named the Xbox One S? When did that get announced? The actual title for it?
I thought it was E3.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, because that's when everybody was like, what?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I mean,
that's right.
They started getting a little flack for it, and we're like, wait, why would I want this machine again? I don't understand. But some other notables from E3 this year was Skyrim VR was announced. Anthem was probably one of the more talked about kind of multiplayer Destiny clones for what we could tell. One of the more ones that I thought was notable, you guys remember that trailer we saw for Metro Exodus, was it called?
Exodus, yes.
Yeah, I thought that looked pretty slick. And then something, of course, we always got to throw in some Switch talk on these, but Rocket League, we got news back in June, was coming to the Switch, and that it would also contain crossplay, which I thought kind of a mistake, but I mean,
think so?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think, not that I'm not a fan of crossplay, but I just can't see the Switch competing with console counterparts. I mean, I've been playing Rocket League on my Xbox for a year now, year and a half, whatever, and it just feels. Granted, I haven't played on the Switch, so maybe I'm not accurately speaking, but I feel like if I'm gonna play Rocket League on the Switch, I'm gonna play local, like me and a buddy.
Well,
they're gonna have that tilt control on that.
Well, if you have the Pro controller and an Ethernet adapter, what's the difference?
Right.
True point. I will give you that. Of course, I only know one person with one of the that has a Switch hardwired, and I don't know, Harry. How are you liking that? Did you notice an improvement on your downloads or
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
much
I like it a
much
lot.
faster? Yeah. What would you say? Now you downloaded Breath of the Wild on Wi-Fi, right?
Yes, it took fucking forever. It did. It took so
Okay.
long.
Yeah. What would you say? Because I downloaded Mario Kart 8 over Wi-Fi, and it took well over an hour for however big that game is. How much did it improve the speed after you had hardwired it? Could you make a comparison?
It's just like the Xbox or anything else. I mean, it's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So probably took what 15, 20 minutes for a comparable average.
Yeah, give or take.
See, so that's a pretty big significance. So yeah, Viga, I would definitely say if you're able to do this, then yeah,
Hey,
definitely do
real
that.
quick,
But
so you got a shout out for Jack. Favorite game of the year, Hello Neighbor. He's been waiting for that one for a while.
oh yeah, I did see this. I saw a trailer for it just recently. You're kind of sneaking into a neighbor's house or a house, and you kind of have to distract. It's almost like a sneaking game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Has anybody seen this yet?
I've seen a lot.
No,
of
just
play
mainly
on it.
gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one where like you throw something out a window outside. The homeowner comes outside, gives you a chance to sneak in. You kind of rummage through a room to find a key or something else.
Yeah, but it's like
to
a fun house. It's not your typical house.
yeah, it's like a crazy big, but it's all this is in the first person experience though as well.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the trailer that I saw or the gameplay that I saw ended with the homeowner coming in and catching you as you're trying to get through a door, and it's kind of intense. I ain't gonna
It's
lie.
suspenseful. Yeah. Very.
Yeah, very suspenseful. So yeah, that one definitely looks. I'd like to see more of
It's
that.
been
Dude.
around for a while. It just now came out to Xbox.
Yeah, that was in early access for
Right.
sure.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I mean,
And I think
been
it's
in
had its
early-
official release.
Yeah, it was in early access for a long, long time, and they kept adding
Mhm.
to it and adding to it.
Huh.
And now
Nice,
that's
nice.
the game that Jack is playing.
Well, thank you for that one, Jack. We definitely will have to try and get some time with that one and see if it holds up to the intensity that it appeared to have in the trailer for sure.
Right.
So, let's see. June also saw the release of Tekken 7. Tekken is probably one of my favorite fighting franchises, and I've not even. I don't know. I haven't even played or seen. Like, I just don't. Not only lack of time, but was it well received, Fi Guy, being a resident
Yeah.
fighter?
It was real well received, but this year was a contentious one for fans of fighting games.
Yeah.
I was already so elbow deep in the world of Injustice that playing a second fighter, while being a fun idea, I've probably said this before, is only going to make you worse at the first one.
Right.
So as much as I love Tekken, and as much as I'd love to see what 7 has to offer, until Injustice 2 runs out of gas and stops receiving DLC characters every month, I'm gonna have to wait. But I know it's a great game. I just haven't played it.
Speaking of DLC characters, aren't the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hitting that?
Yep.
I gotta try that. I gotta buy that game just for that reason.
Yep,
Yeah,
Ninja
that's
Turtles
crazy.
all in one character. I don't know how that's gonna work, you guys, but it should be interesting.
And they look like the
Imagine.
'90s version of them too. It's great.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Not
trench
the
coats
weird.
and all that good shit.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'll be good. Let's see. Then we saw ARMS also release in June, which I feel like it had mixed reviews. A lot of people liked it. Some people thought it was not as intuitive as it needed to be for a fighter. But at the time, there really wasn't a lot of opportunities on the Switch like we have now. So play what you could when you could. Then let's see. July. We saw kind of a hiccup with the Super NES Classic orders. Do you guys remember when a bunch of the pre-orders got canceled? By
Yeah, I was one of them. Damn it!
Oh.
Load of bull crap.
That
Alex, you
was.
just
that
have
was-
not had a good year, man.
Not for Nintendo, I guess
No,
you could say.
haven't.
You're right.
They've got to come up with a better system of doing this scarcity thing, you know? There needs
Yeah,
to be
really.
a lottery. They've done lotteries for this kind of shit in Japan before. You enter a lottery, then if you win, you get to buy the thing you want.
Yeah.
Congratulations! Go buy this.
You
Yeah.
get nothing.
You get nothing. You lose.
Go die.
Well, this one has definitely been more produced than the NES, because I want to say I was doing some shopping and I saw one on a shelf. I want to say.
Well, it was still
Like-
flawed in the sense where they would get purchased in the bulk by people who had the money and then resold at a higher price.
That's
which
what I
happened
mean.
with the NES.
Nintendo
Oh,
needs to
definitely.
find some way. They need to have like a official Nintendo store, like Apple has Apple stores,
Yes.
so that they can get around this eBay bullshit that we all. I
Mhm.
think we all hate this eBay thing, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
What's the eBay thing?
Where somebody with $1,000 extra bucks in their pocket will go snag, seven
I
of
see.
these,
Is that
Sell
what they were
six-
doing it through?
sell
Was
6 of
all
them on
through
eBay for double price, and just keep
Yeah.
one.
It's like pay to win.
I thought they
Yeah.
were just doing it physically. Yeah, it really was. It was. Very,
Well, I've heard. I mean, I can remember when this was happening with like the PlayStation 3 back in the day, where individuals would go and stock. They'd max out a credit card. Buy up as many PlayStation 3s as they could, and then turn around and sell them on eBay for 75% markup or something like that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then I know one guy said I talked to somebody who had done that, and they said eBay basically suspended their account because they wanted receipts and proof of where they were acquiring their hardware from, because they were thought like, hey, this guy's stealing them or something. I don't know, but
Even eBay knew they were shady.
right. That's something else. But let's see. July also saw the release of Splatoon 2, which was very well received from everything I've heard. I've never really gotten into Splatoon personally, but maybe the Switch is a good opportunity to mess with that. Has anybody played Splatoon on the Switch?
No.
Nope.
I have played Splatoon 1 on the Wii U.
Yeah, because you don't have a Switch.
I don't have Wii U either. I don't know what point that makes.
Damn it. I was really hoping
Good
you
point.
did.
Good point.
This is gonna
Well,
be.
I would play.
Fuck.
Fuck, if I had Wii U, I'd still be able to play. What's it called?
Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'd absolutely
Yeah.
be playing it. But no, buddy had a Wii U a while back, and he came into my place, so we tried it out. It was basically the Mario Kart aspect
Version
of when
of-
you played online, you got your ass kicked by people in Japan that have been
Oh,
playing
yeah.
it since the break of dawn. It was just insane how bad they would ruin us. It was
They
insane.
just got tiny hands. They're really fast.
And cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stop looking at your eyes.
Oh, for crying out loud. No, but yeah, we just wanted to try the Wii U. It was right after the release of also, what's it called? Super Mario Maker, which is actually a lot of fun to play.
Yeah,
That was not this year. That was just
no,
a-
that was
tangent.
last year. But Super Mario Maker was one of those ones I wanted to get on the 3DS just to kind
Yes.
of get that experience. Since I didn't
Yeah,
have a
it
Wii
does
U.
seems like a shame to me that a game as monumental as Mario Maker was supposed to be on Wii U hasn't made its way to Switch yet. Because
Yeah,
yes, it's cool, we can play it on 3DS, but it's a stripped down version. If you want to play those online levels that people just spent so much time making a masterpiece of a homemade level, you got to play it on Wii U. That's not an option on 3DS.
yeah.
So, like most people, you're probably not going to play it on Wii U, which probably means you're not going to play it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But they'd be silly to not put it on Switch.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
touch screen. I mean, come on.
Let's see. August, we got we got information that PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds surpasses Dota 2 on Steam as top stat game for that.
what was it? Most consecutive or most overall online players?
I want to say most concurrent online play.
Gotcha.
More people were playing PUBG at that month than Dota 2, which Dota 2 had been the reigning champ for
Shit ever.
years. Yeah, I mean, so that was a pretty interesting announcement, and probably should have let you know what the forecast for PUBG really held. So.
I think PUBG is almost like a Minecraft story, you know?
Mhm.
To see a little guy indie modder end up with something this monumental on his hands, instead of giants like EA or whoever, Ubisoft, cranking out a successful game. It's just some guy.
He basically did what DayZ should have done quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So even if the game is janky, people love it, and it's nice to hear a mom and pop story for once.
Yeah. Games released in August. We got Uncharted Lost Legacy, which Ironclad, I'm sure you'll get to as you're chugging through those games.
In time, yes.
Which I heard you don't. This particular, it's hard to call it DLC because it's a standalone kind of experience, but you play as some secondary characters, if I recall correctly, right? Zoe, or I don't know who you play as. I'm not that familiar, so I won't say. But anyway, that title was well received. Looked really good. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle on the Switch, which was, Guy mentioned, was another Ubisoft turn-based strategy tactics title.
Yeah.
This is another one I've been meaning to get.
Yeah, it's like the best. It's combined worlds for you.
I know, right?
Yeah, you're a big fan of
long.
Yeah.
I finally wrapped that game up last week.
Nice, congrats.
It took me a long time, and just before I finished it up, the night before, actually, they quietly added local multiplayer.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's got some weird rules, but it's fun.
Huh.
Yeah.
Weirder rules than the card rule system for Final Fantasy Tactics?
No, there are no laws.
Yes?
If that's what you're
Okay, laws. Yeah,
No.
that's right.
Nothing like that. Just kind of some. It's basically got a few more rules than standard play does, but it's still fun. Like I said.
Okay, cool. And then also, this was something that Ironclad was speaking of pre-show, but Hellblade.
Sense's Sacrifice, I want to say.
Sense's Sacrifice, yeah. Also came out
title.
in August. And I think this came out on PlayStation and PC, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so those are the releases for August. That were definitely worth mentioning. Let's see. September, we saw the release of Fortnite Royale, as mentioned in the comments on YouTube.
A free-to-play game.
This was a free-to-play. Now, Fortnite is a free-to-play game, or let me say this, will be a free-to-play game. Right now, in early access, you can pay, I want to say, $20, $30 or so to get access to the actual campaign side of Fortnite. But they released a 100-player Battle Royale option where very similar to PUBG, obviously, but adding the elements of building and whatnot that Fortnite contains. In fact, Ironclad, I remember after it released, came through.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was interesting. Yeah, I never played that game. I never even heard about the whole debate about how, I mean, even the PUBG creator or somebody came out and pointed out how he was basically stealing his ideas.
I think Fortnite's Battle Royale mode should win the Swoop of the Year award because they fucking swooped hard on that and fast. And if you think about it from a business standpoint, making it free to play, giving people a way to taste Battle Royale game for their first time for free, shit, man, that's smart.
And it was a free to play that wasn't pay to win either. Like there was no access. Like nobody with money could just because there were options to buy that game for $100 and you get like this founders pack, but it didn't do anything to the PV or that mode.
The Royale mode, it was all just the PvE experience.
Yeah, I had come down for a visit down to Stu's house, and he's like, "Have you tried this game yet?" Because when you had it downloaded, I was like, I never bought it yet, and he's like, "Well, this mode's free to play," and I was like, I had no idea. And ever since then, I of course have been playing it nonstop. But it was, I don't want to say it was my first. It was either my first or second match.
I think it was first or second. It was maybe the second.
Yeah, and I never played this game, and I didn't really understand the concept other than you're supposed to be the last one standing.
Yeah, just don't die.
yeah, half the time people were building things and I was terrified. I'm like, they're building things and hiding behind them. I don't know how they're doing it. So basically, I was not doing it. I think the only reason I did so well was because of this. But it was probably my second game playing, and I won the whole thing. Got the whole Battle Royale win, and I couldn't believe it. I was just like, it was so tense too. There was moments where
it was. There was a ramp or something that were between you and the other guy. You both took turns, like just peeking around barely, and you just
shotgun them.
Did you receive any kind of chicken dinner equivalent?
You get the when you parachute down to the map. When you first jump out of the bus, the winners of each mode gets a umbrella that's like made of metal. You don't have a parachute, you have like this umbrella, and you like kind of Mary Poppins in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's even physical for other players to see, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And what was just so interesting about it, and there was just so many moments where I didn't know what was going on, like, because I would build and I was kind of just like, I don't know, I was really not trying my hardest, and there's like a moment where they have these like kind of 4-story tall towers that you can get into, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna be like a sitting duck, but let's just sit in here. So I built my way up, or a huge ramp to get up to it, and then destroyed the ramp behind me so they wouldn't know I had climbed up in there. So I just hid in there for a little bit, and I'm trying to learn building. Like, you have to press a separate button. You go through all these other menus and all this extra stuff that I was just like, I don't know what I'm looking at right now. I'm just hitting buttons. And a player happens to walk into the same room. And I'm talking, we're in you can't fit 3 people in there. It's just me and this guy. And I am freaking out. I'm just screaming at Stu's TV. And I couldn't get the gun out, but luckily the guy had no idea I was in the room with him. I was like, calm down, and just happened to take out a shotgun and blast him. And then he had a sniper rifle, and then that sniper rifle helped me win the rest of the match also, which was just...
Yeah, it was pretty intense, to say the least.
It was cracking me up. It's been a long time that I played a game where I physically got up, stood up, and like ran around a house in excitement. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good one. So
that was fun.
We need to get on that then.
Yeah.
Oh man, I play it all the time. It's great.
All right.
Definitely worth it. I enjoy
That's
it.
happening.
Okay.
Let's see. September also saw the launch of the Super NES Mini Classic. It finally released, although some were disappointed, as Ironclad mentioned, because they had their pre-orders canceled. But that was kind of big in the industry news. The games that came out for September were long-awaited Destiny 2. Another long-awaited was Metroid: Samus Returns, as we talked about earlier. This was the first Metroid game in like 10 years that was any like side-scrolling traditional throwback to. Technically, it's a remake, but coming out on 3DS, they really changed some of the gameplay features. And
there were only 3 times in the little story cutscenes where I drew parallels between it and the original.
Yeah.
It may as well just be a new game.
I thought so as well, and I've not beaten it as of yet, but from my experiences, I see very small comparisons to the original Game Boy version. But
it's telling the same important story, and that's what matters, I guess. It's a great game.
And speaking of long-awaited titles that came out in September, anybody ever get their hands on Cuphead?
Yes.
Cuphead was very retro-looking, Steamboat Willie-esque art style, but basically it's a bullet hell shooter platform.
Hell being the key word.
Yeah,
that game is hell.
Man, that game is tough.
I didn't know if we were going to talk about the release of it, but of course we're doing all the releases of the year. That easily is top 3 of the game of the year for me. That is a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fantastic game.
For as aggravating as it is,
Yeah.
It's gotten to a point where like I can only play it at certain times because I just don't have it in me to be pissed off. So
You gotta wait until your chill meter is at its maximum.
Yeah,
well,
pretty
and
much.
I mean, he's got a point. Like there'll be points where you pick up the game, play for a solid 2 hours, and make zero progress. That happened to me multiple times.
So basically, what I do now is me and my wife were playing together, and we found it easier to play just one character and take turns, because with 2 people, there's so much shit going on the screen.
Yeah.
You can't figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's tough, like, because you have both disadvantages and advantages of playing multiplayer couch co-op, because there's a lot going on the screen, and I can't really tell. I would have to see if maybe the internet has like a confirmation on if it's more difficult when there's 2 players.
It seems like it, because there's the bosses do like way more.
I feel like it was.
I don't know. I couldn't really tell. It's got to be damn near close if it is. But it also has the pros about it is you have the ability to revive your teammate, which can be very, very useful. But you're also, when you're reviving them,
tricky too.
Yeah, you're going out there and risking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that game is so. I've never had such a rewarding game though. I mean, in its difficulty, man. When you beat a boss, I get up and dance around my house like I just won Fortnite.
Yeah. Sarah's been playing it more than I have lately, so like the other night she was stuck on, I forget whatever boss, Bird Brain or something like that, and we've been stuck on it for so long. But it turns out that I'm good at one section of it more than she was. So we kind of like co-opted past the controller.
Hot potatoed it.
Yeah.
There you
exactly.
go. Nice.
And when she did beat it, she did just that. She was like bouncing around the house, and I mean, even
yeah. Oh yeah.
Next time that happens, you should give her a high five and go, "My wife."
My wife. But I mean, anytime anymore, man. If she picks it up, she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna play Cuphead." I'm like, "That's cool. I don't have the heart for it. I'm
gonna take all the breakables out of the room."
No, I just pull out the Switch, man, and go drown in Zelda.
Nice.
The Switch, man. She can do her gaming, and I can go do mine.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, this happened to me also. Speaking of Cuphead, of multiple times where I can't. It's so strange. I would, like I said, you would spend, multiple hours on a single boss. You would leave and come back, maybe and try a different boss and whatever. But there was multiple times where I couldn't defeat a boss for the life of me. I would just spend hours on it, and then just one time out of the blue, I would perfect the same boss in the same sitting. Wow. It's very strange. Like I would die over and over. There'd be times where I died in the first round, and then I would perfect the whole boss, and it's just like doing that is almost impossible.
Speaking of hard games, have you guys seen Getting Over It?
Getting Over It? No.
YouTube, the video game Getting Over It. Watch Jack or Mark, one of them 2 guys play it. You want to talk about a fucking aggravating game? Oh my god.
I'm writing it down now.
It aggravates me just watching it for these poor guys. I mean, Markiplier throws a damn chair across the room. He gets so pissed off. Like
what type of game is it?
It's how you just got to go watch it, dude. It's hard to explain.
It's funny to me that there's this resurgence of annoyingly difficult, frustrating games that people are talking about like it's a new thing. Yeah. Man, I remember being an NES owner. All them shits were annoying.
Oh, all of them.
You remember trying to beat Ghosts and Goblins? Forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, even trying to beat Contra without the code. Holy crap!
It's funny to see things come full circle difficulty-wise after so many years.
Though, like Cuphead has an end game. I don't even know if Getting Over It has an end game. It's like, and when you watch it and you fall and you fail and you go back 4 hours worth of your work that you just put in, then you get this nice little British guy who's like, "Oh, that's really unfortunate. I'm so sorry about that." And then he starts like putting life into perspective while you're just trying not to gouge your eyes out.
That sounds about right.
Man, you got to watch it. Oh man, it's aggravating. There's no way I could do it.
Let's see. October, we saw the much anticipated sequel to Shadow of Mordor with Middle-earth Shadow of War. The first one was kind of a sleeper for, was that 2015?
14.
14. Oh, okay, yeah.
I believe so.
When it came out. And so when we got the announcement that this one was coming, there was much... I don't know. I think it launched well. I heard a lot of good things about it. Once again,
it was another title that had the unfortunate of microtransactions.
Yes. Okay.
Saw some shade on that. That's about it.
I think we'll probably look back at 2017.
Loot boxes.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. What was that?
I think we'll look back on 2017 as being the year of the loot box.
Yeah, well said.
It's getting to the point where political is coming into it, and it's getting in some countries they're deeming it illegal to have into a video game, considering it's gambling, and in the gambling to the potential of gambling to underage. So it's absolutely
interesting. Yeah, that's a take.
Even for somebody like me who rarely plays a game that would have loot boxes, my life has been totally infested by loot boxes. Injustice 2 is totally loot box based. It's not as insidious or evil as many of the examples you read about this year, but it's there. And it's the reason that I've put, you guys, I don't want to know how many hundreds of hours I've played this game. Probably 400, not even shitting you, because it's every single night. It's the dailies, it's the loot boxes, it's driving me crazy and making me feel like a slave, but at the same time I can't look away because I've put so much work into it. How can you stop when you've worked so hard?
Right. No, that makes sense.
But I really do think that loot boxes need to burn in hell.
They don't really bother me too much. I don't think it's as big a deal as some people are making them out to be, but it is a nasty practice. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It does. It kind of sullies the whole game market as a whole.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we had in October. This is one I'm interested to get your take on. Ironclad. I've seen you've been playing a little bit, but The Evil Within 2.
Yes. Actually was gifted to me. I didn't actually. I got the first access to gifting on Xbox, and
that's true. That was a big story. What was that, back in August?
It was
October.
And I want to say it was even announced that it was coming even before that, and then we finally saw a release of it. But it's hard to say. A lot of people, a big majority of people are saying how it's a successor that's better than the original, but I don't know. I like the original for what it is. It's very, it's like a original Resident Evil where you really have to save bullets like no other. You have to save every single individual bullets can make a difference in the game, and it's very creepy, and the storytelling was a little on par, but it was a very interesting game. And the sequel, it does change a lot. It definitely goes more heavy on the story, so the story is a little bit better than the sequel, but the gameplay, I didn't like it as much. It's kind of like this pseudo open world where you can kind of take on things as you want. And it's not linear, but I don't know. I like the linear aspect of the single player of the first one, so it's kind of got its pros and cons. But I definitely enjoyed the hell out of it so far. I've yet to beat it, but it's interesting, but a lot different. It did take a different approach for sure.
I think my neighbor's playing that right now too. I think he's really into that.
It's interesting. It's a fun game, and it's just they definitely did a lot of changes, but it is for the better. For some things, it's for the better. For some, it just kind of gets away from its original roots. Right. But definitely worth playing.
And then the action game of the year that took it from the Game Awards, Wolfenstein 2.
I want to play that so bad.
Yet to play. You know what? I think I'm going to buy that today just because I can.
There is a big Xbox sale going on.
Yeah, that's true. There is.
Yeah,
but I do.
First one was great.
First one was phenomenal. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to go off of. Was the first one really did knock it out of the park for being kind of just this release out of nowhere, kind of like the Shadow of War, whatever it was called, Shadow Mordor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was definitely came out of nowhere and was definitely an interesting storytelling. Kind of came and went for a lot of people, but
yeah, it kind of did. But I think it was one of the better, well-received adventure titles for sure. And then, of course, the long-awaited Super Mario Odyssey finally coming to the Switch in October. This was another one that I know compared to Zelda, it was well received, but I just didn't hear as much about it as I did Zelda.
That's just natural, don't you think? Zelda being the way that it is, and just kind of overshadows everything, I would imagine.
Well, I think Mario has a larger mass appeal, though, to the general gaming public. I felt like because Zelda is always more in that RPG wheelhouse, not every gamer will dip their toes into the Zelda pool, if you will. Whereas in, even RPGers will get their hands on Mario. So, I don't know. I was just kind of surprised. Don't get me wrong. Everybody who's played it, which Vaga, I think you beat it, right?
Good talk.
Yeah, I think.
Clearly, he played lots of it. He's playing it right now.
Maybe
I took control of him.
Say he was stepping away for a second. I don't know.
I didn't see it. I'm not sure.
In any case, I know that Vagai has had some hands-on with it. I want to say I think he's beat it from our conversations that we've had, but I don't know. I hear good things about it, and I hear it's worth it. But
I mean, I'd play it.
Oh, it looks amazing. And I think the gameplay mechanic about switching the hats, I think that's fun. I like it.
Everybody's raved about that. About just the you can even you can be a Goomba for the first time. Maybe not the first time, but you can do it.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, which if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you're gamers, so this is not news to you. But in this particular title, Mario can throw his hat at literally pretty much anything in the world and basically possess it. So yeah, it's kind of a unique mechanic to say the least. So.
Well, and I really like that they did the 2D Mario in Mario Odyssey, like on the walls and shit. Like that's cool.
The 2D Mario on the walls?
Yeah, there's sections of that game where you enter a 2D platform on the wall, of the game, like on the cliffside or something, to get to the top.
You're kind of like hugging the wall, but it's got you running along, like on the wall.
Like you could be wearing like your little pirate outfit, but when you go into the 2D world, you're wearing a little 2D pirate outfit that you've never seen before.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. That's kind of cool. And I will say that this coming month, November, last month, we have probably the biggest upset in news, as we kind of mentioned, what really came to a head with this EA Loot Crate experience with the microtransactions from Battlefront 2. The main issue with this is that, it's basically the thing that gamers hate more than anything, which is a pay-to-win format. And in order to unlock some of the high-end...
A pay-to-win in a already you paid for game is the main... It's really what kills it, too.
Yeah. What really brought this to light is, I believe there's a character, Boba Fett, that had his top-tier level-up experience basically made him immune to damage for 15, 20 seconds, something like that, during a match. But the only way you could get it was out of a loot crate, which you had to spend money for. And maybe you got it, maybe you didn't. Very much like Ironclad said, almost a gamble.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah. And this really caught the maelstrom from the gaming public on Reddit when EA responded to just a random comment and opened the floodgates for everybody to be like, "What the f is going on here?"
Well, and on the comment, or the comment that they made on the
thread
post on Reddit wasn't even the fact that there were those abilities. The main concern that really first ignited the flame was the fact that people would buy this game and immediately out of the gate you couldn't play any hero, period. You couldn't play Vader, you couldn't play Luke, you couldn't play anybody until you had played almost hundreds of hours. You would have to play. You'd have to play a solid, 100 hours just to get one of the characters. Someone did the math. Unless you paid, yes.
Yeah, unless you paid, right?
Unless you paid for not even a loot crate, you paid just for these tokens, basically. So it was very, very different, and then they came out and they said that how their main objective was to give gosh, I'm trying to think of the exact quote. It's very a very PR answer where they're like, "Oh, we're just trying to give the players a sense of entitlement," and the players are obviously seeing right through that and be like, "No, you're clearly trying to make more money.
You're trying to take our money, basically."
Yeah, and not only that, but you're trying to take our money, which honestly, almost every video game that has been released since the beginning of 2016, even maybe before that, has had some kind of game mechanic of microtransactions. I mean, it's we're going to get into a deep conversation here where games are unfortunately too cheap for the consumer. Or not for the consumer, of course not too cheap for the consumer. It's great for the consumer. It's too cheap to be made. They can't put all this hour and money into a $60 game that people buy one time. You know.
Well, it's not only that, but games are no longer just play it to completion and set it aside.
Right.
You know, they want you to keep playing it and playing it and playing it, but at the same time, if you want me to do that, you're going to have to keep providing content. Well, I can't keep providing content for just a $60 price tag, even if everybody buys the game. If you want to play it for years and years, that $60 only goes so far. You know? I mean, that's unrealistic.
Yeah, it is. It is unrealistic, especially, I mean, I get that. And microtransaction, I don't care. I could be totally indifferent about them. They can have them, and people can go and buy them, as long as it doesn't affect the gameplay, which with Battlefront 2, it did not do that. People would go out and buy these loot boxes or tokens to where they had an advantage of, like they were talking about how they could add this thing that it was plus, I want to say 25% weapon damage, which is just outrageous. To someone who might just be picking up the game like me, maybe I pick up the game 2 years down the road for $20 on a sale, and there's just people, you know, that you would never have even an opportunity to get a good experience out of it. So that in that respect, I get why gamers are mad. Like they could have all the microtransactions in the world, just don't break the game, which EA did the exact opposite. And then they did one of the worst things you could do to a gamer is lie to them, which they did also. And then, of course, the gaming world went crazy and totally had a bad backlash. And you really never want to see that in a video game, especially, honestly, with Star Wars coming out. I was really hoping and looking forward to this game. I'm like, are you kidding me? Star Wars, and I could play a video game and watch it. I was very stoked for it. It was quite a letdown for that to flop like that.
Well, let me ask you this. So we know EA has a history of microtransactions in their games, especially with you know, some of their other franchises. But with Battlefront 2 being a head-to-head competitive shooter, we really hadn't seen this business model before. What do you think convinced them that this was an opportunity that would be tolerated by the gaming public? Or do you think they just took a risk and said, "Well, maybe we'll make money on it, maybe not"? But
I think they took a risk because they might have. I think that they had the potential of distracting gamers, because when they did come out and announce the game, they had someone talk about all the stuff that was getting replaced from the previous title of what players were complaining about, which was mainly, the first thing was a single player. So they come out with this character that's in the single player that's modeled after and is promoting the game. Maybe they were distracted. Oh, these players will have their single player. Well, if we're going to add all this extra content and spend the extra money, we should try and figure out a system where we can earn the money back. But and in a production, it kind of really sucks, because it's mainly a production. That's why everybody blames EA, is because EA, all they really did was produce, or not produce. What's a word I'm looking for?
Publish.
They published it. So they just provided the money, but they obviously gave these commands that they had to develop.
Yeah, here's what you gotta have in it.
Yeah, and then,
you know, I think it is almost, because EA also does Madden and NHL and, you know, these other franchises that basically pop out a game every year. And in those, they're not so much making money on the actual titles themselves, which still cost $60 every year, which seems crazy to me. But where they really make a killing is on these microtransactions for their like, what do they call them? Ultimate teams, I think they call them, or something like that. You guys familiar with this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, I know you guys. Basically, it's a card pack like experience where you get players and cards, and then you can add them to your ultimate team that you actually take online to face off against other players. And I think that's kind of what they were going for, something along those lines with this loot crate system. Is just a way like, well, that's sports games, and it's one thing when you're trying to get like a high level player, or you need a good quarterback, and so you spend $2.99 on a pack hoping you get the right type of stat player. But we've not really seen this on a head-to-head competitive shooter like this. And I just don't understand how EA would think like, oh, no one's gonna really mind this. I don't know.
I just don't think for them they just didn't fully understand what that would do to the game. They didn't. To them, it was just a money profiting idea that they obviously will, if we're, like I said, with the money and how little it would cost, they would think that they would make their money back this way.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, guys. Well, let's see. That was majority of November and still going on into December. November also saw the release of the Xbox One X. I mean, it was probably the least exciting console launch of the year compared to the Switch. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's more powerful, the most powerful console out it's ever been produced, from what I understand. But I don't know. I still don't know why you would necessarily need one if you had an Xbox One S or an Xbox One original. I guess if you had a HDR 4K TV that is just kind of sitting there and you wanted to upgrade to get some better graphics, so I guess that would be an opportune time if you didn't already have an Xbox.
The idea of something just running smoother altogether is kind of nice, because with me in the original Xbox One that first came out, I call the VCR is quite slow. Just like an example, I've been playing a lot of Destiny. Just pausing the game, I see unbearable. Just for the pause screen to pop up, it takes quite some time and is aggravating. So
really?
To think of, because it does boast that it decreases load times, I do like that.
Yeah. Well, I know because I still have an original Xbox One, the VCR as you called it.
Yes.
And ever since I got the external hard drive for it, I really noticed a significant improvement in a lot of loading times. I mean, what game was it? I want to say it was maybe The Witcher 3. I noticed almost a minute difference in load times after I got my external hard drive.
I'm saying that too, because that game takes forever to freaking load.
Yeah, it was some pretty significant improvements just with that. So, but in any case, like I said, that's pretty much the rundown for gaming news of the year. Does anybody have any? There was two things that I wanted to mention for sure on the gaming side of things. We didn't touch either. Doom VR, which I know you guys enjoyed that a lot. Oh, pardon me. Sorry about that.
Festive.
Let me see. Doom VR, which was well received from everything I understood, at least on Oculus or Vive. France. I think that's on PlayStation VR too. You know what? Let me go ahead and grab this.
Okay.
Hello.
The tests have come back positive.
I'm sorry to say this, but you have herpes.
You have super AIDS.
You have super AIDS.
And are somehow pregnant. I don't know how that's possible.
That's weird, but...
This is weird. You need to talk to multiple doctors. I'll get back to you.
Unfortunately, the baby has super AIDS as well.
You have quadruple AIDS.
Or horrible.
But I'm also not a doctor, so I don't know why you called me.
Wait a minute, I called you.
Ah, crap, I'm drunk again.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
It's okay, yeah, whatever.
We made time with it.
Watch it in post and you'll get it.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Doom VR. Do you guys got any takeaways for that?
It exists.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay.
I don't make enough money to get that, so.
Yeah,
no
really,
good or bad to it. I know.
I would love to try it, but there's no really way for me to. Kind of like we were talking about earlier with Resident Evil VR. I don't really have a way to try it, so
try it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, we will go ahead and wind this one up as a year of the end conclusion. One thing I do want to say, it is gaming related, but not directly.
Go on.
This whole net neutrality thing, I think, could not only be not good for gamers, but it might not be the greatest for our podcast, which, I know it doesn't have the largest reach out there, but, I think it would be targeted by some of the restrictions that we would be losing by the killing of net neutrality. So
Yes.
I think if there's any opportunity, and correct me on this, like I said, my head's mostly been in school, but from what I understand, it still has to pass through the House.
Yes. So basically has to go to, which it doesn't really bode well for us either, because the House will mostly vote in favor of it, because it is mostly
Republican
contained
as well.
of Republican, and it is unfortunate, but like you said yourself, it has been killed. There are steps that need to be taken within Congress, but we probably won't see anything until late 2018 that could really affect us. But there is absolutely, to anybody listening, there are ways to fight this. Call your congressman. There's even websites that are dedicated where all you do is put your name in and it'll auto link to your congressman. They'll get email blasted, voicemails, all
There's
that.
Lawsuits going on.
So it is being fought very hard right now, and I can only recommend that people try their hardest and damnedest to keep fighting it, because even though it's not really proven, it's not really proven that it will affect us, but odds are the corporations will not.
Well, here's for those unfamiliar, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I've heard some about this net neutrality, but I don't really know what it entails. Here's basically what it is. For those of you with a cable service, you understand how they have different tiers of service. So if you want just your basic public television PBS type of channels, it may cost you $15 a month. If you want your ESPN, Food Network, Home Shopping Network, whatever, it's $30 a month. Well, if you want your HBOs and your Showtimes, you're looking at $85 a month. That's basically what they're talking about doing with the internet. They're saying, if you want your basic Facebook and Twitter and options like that, here it's going to be $35 a month. If you want access to
YouTube,
YouTube,
Netflix, video streaming services will be the main first things to take a hit. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, being that we are not affiliated with any major brand, and I guess the big thing that I'm worried about is this gives internet providers the ability to censor and basically delegate to say who is actually going to be able to be accessed from their access points. So, a little podcast like ours may not warrant enough opportunity for them to be like, hey, we want to make sure people get to your site. So, you know what I mean? We may fall into the like, oh, you have to have the everything package to get to these guys because we're so out there on the fringes of the internet kind of thing. So, that would be very disappointing in my opinion. But like I said, what do you think this could mean for gaming in general, for online, for services like Xbox Live, for PSN Plus, for do you think this will affect streaming gaming?
it's tough to say. I mean, to get into a big long discussion about it, to cut it short, basically how we have net neutrality as it is now is internet providers don't have access to information of what is being used as of internet. Like it could be, you know, they can just see all the traffic that's going through internet and they don't know what it is. With this bill, and when it comes into fruition, it'll be able to give them ability. Oh, they're using the data for this or that. Mainly, video gaming will take a hit. It probably won't be as an extensive hit as Netflix, but Netflix is on video games, so it's kind of this gray area where video games might get the worst of it all. Where, you know, a console has the ability to stream videos of YouTube, Netflix, also while taking a massive download cap of, you know, I download Battlefield, which is a 60 gig title. That's a lot of bandwidth for a company to try and give access to. So it could be one of the hardest hit, or it could mainly they could be focusing on YouTube or something.
Do you think you could see something like this where you're playing an online multiplayer match and then for whatever reason they're saying, oh, you've hit your tier, so we're slowing down your data here, and all of a sudden you're lagging and cutting out?
That will most likely happen, yes. It will be an unlimited data, but once you hit a certain cap, you will be sold down. That is mainly probably the for sure of all these things going to happen, because
and that's a worse that for that in gaming. That's I mean, how much gaming do you actually like? We've been talking about how many times have we mentioned PUBG in this, you know, in this particular podcast, and could you imagine something like that happening in a online?
Yeah, we could be lucky though, because it's just that's how it is. It could be where hopefully you get, because overall gaming online doesn't take too much bandwidth. Like while you're playing, it's the downloads that's really gonna hurt. It's like if I want to download PUBG and then play it, that could hurt me. But if I download PUBG at the end of the month and then the next month comes through and all I do is play PUBG, you probably won't see a data cap through. Playing online doesn't take too much, not an extensive amount.
Yeah.
So
not like Netflix or HBO.
No, and that's why you see Netflix fighting this, is because the main problem and access was Netflix that solved this all to light, because Netflix is really what kind of was the killer app for internet overall.
Here's what it was: is that most internet providers are cable companies. Okay, so they were kind of shooting themselves in the foot, if you will, by saying, look, here's our internet package, but here's our video package service. Now, if you want this, it costs this much a month. Well, it was just cheaper to go with internet and Netflix than it was to pay for the video service from the cable company. Right. But the cable company is the one providing you the internet service. So it's like,
well, yeah.
So I
wonder if we could see a thing even where maybe you have a data cap, but you won't reach that data cap if you buy our TV service, which could be nice, because then they're seeing a win-win where you might be using all their data to go stream Netflix, but you're still paying for their TV.
Yeah, so, they're just getting more money out of you, what they want to be getting anyway. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. Like I said, it's a slippery slope that I don't care to be on, but at this point...
It barely passed, too. I'm surprised. There were 2 people on the board that did disagree with it. It was a 3-2 vote, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. It's just bad for the consumer, and it's sad that they...
But we also live in a very heavy consumer country, so if there is a small chance, but there is a chance of the consumer fighting it back and maybe meeting some kind of middle ground. So
yeah,
here's hoping for the best.
That only you can prevent net neutrality from.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Before we sign off, Harry, any other shout-outs from the chat?
No, I don't have any other shout-outs, but I do have something I want to show these guys, if this will work.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. It doesn't show up on the phone, but they're Carolina Reaper peppers that I have coming in tomorrow. So I know I've talked about it before.
Please stream that.
Yes, no, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And actually, I have some for you too, because Heather
fuck yourself.
Heather seems to think you owe her. She originally, she originally didn't want me to do it because of my gut and stuff, but I kind of went around
There is
that, so.
no way in hell I'm doing that.
Come on,
There's
man.
no way.
Come on.
Oop.
For those who don't
Come on,
know,
we
these
can,
are
we
like
can eat
crazy,
peppers
crazy
and try to
hottest
play
pepper.
Cuphead.
Oh God!
I'd
That
rather-
might be the one I do too, so I'm gonna figure it out. But yeah, they are gonna be here tomorrow.
Of all the things that there is to do, that is one of the things I will never do. Yes. There's no. By the way, I am concerned for your health because that is very dangerous. You do know not to drink water, right?
Yes.
Because because I've seen a lot of people that do this and stream online. The first instinct is, of course, drink water because it's cold and it's
milk, baby.
You have a faucet of it. It will make it a million times worse.
Yeah, milk.
Woo!
Milk all the way.
Milk all
Ice
the way.
cream. Just go ice cream.
I might even buy like a small kiddie pool so I can just
just belly flop into milk. All right, now you're starting to speak my language.
We'll see. Yeah, it's gonna be something's gonna happen.
All right, guys. Well, I gotta say, 2017 is definitely one for the books and one to remember.
Agreed.
Thanks for sticking with us through the hiatus that we've had. I really hope we can get into more of a regular schedule with. It probably won't be weekly for some time, just with my schedule, unless we can work something out with some of the other guys. But that being said, we will be back in 2018. And
there's a lot of other stuff going on too. Like I'm in the process of building another computer. That way I can make streams better. I can make it more efficient. I have a new camera that I'm looking at buying here soon. So
yeah, there's several things on the plate. We're still working on the revamp. Ironclad has come up with a very nice site that we're still trying to get to.
In time.
And, little things like regular streams, I would definitely still would like to do. But like I said, thanks for the time you guys have taken to support and show us. Thanks for everybody in the chat. We really appreciate the time and comments that you guys make. And, this is 2017. Thanks for the listen. And as we're fond of saying, don't get caught.
Peace.
I love your faces. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Let the